Greetings, greetings. Come on in, come on in. Welcome. Thank you for joining me for another stream. We're going to give it a minute for everybody to kind of come on in and join, and then we'll start. Hope everybody is doing well on this blessed day. Um, Staying dry. I know where I'm at. It's been raining since last night. It's pouring pretty steady. So this is a good time to do it live and a good day to do it live. So, welcome. And we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. You can just give me a moment. And I'm going to go on mute for just a second. Hello there, Ricky Clay. Come on in, come on in. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be talking about a pretty sensitive subject today. It's going to be somewhat of a partial continuation of the last video I did in regards to the 215 bodies that have been found behind a jailhouse in Jackson, Mississippi. That is going to segue into some information that I'm going to share in regards to the prison system in Mississippi. I do want to provide some updates on the Jackson, Mississippi, and expound on some newly revealed information that has come about regarding those bodies. And that's going to include a couple videos as well as a couple of publications. And I have actually put links in the description to all of the sources that I'm going to use today to expound on the topic. Fair use is in effect. Fair use, again, is in effect. So I do, because I am going to be showing some videos. Ooh, it's pouring down rain. And let me close my window. Hold on a second. Brutal. I do want to read a little bit of the fair use, if I can find it in my description. Okay, so the views and opinions are those only of the ones stating them and are not statements stated by the content creator or the channel. These opinions are my own. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. I do not own the rights to any videos I'm reacting to. I'm only stating my opinion about the video. The videos do not make it facts. So I did want to give that disclaimer to start off with. So as you come in, if you could just tap the like button, and even the bush watchers, if you could just tap the like button as you're watching the stream, it would be greatly appreciated. So I do want to start off. There has been some, the topic in itself is very disturbing. When you have 215 bodies that have been found in a shallow grave, yard. And the only way that they were able to actually find this information out to the degree and blow the lid off of something that seems to be, I remember saying in my last stream that this had to be accumulated, those bodies had to be accumulated over a period of time. I did not know how much time, and who's to say if we would really get the accurate um, time, because nobody has been brought to the forefront for being responsible for these atrocities as of yet. But there's an article on NBC News that says 8 years. 8 years. So even if we go off of that, 8 years is a long time for everything that has been going on to go on under the radar. And this is crazy to me. Um, I had someone in my comments that was from the area that vocalized how little the law enforcement department is in this area, and how, come on in. Hey, Oliver, Green Apartments. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. And hey, 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 y'all. Hey, y'all. So come on in and get settled. So I was talking about, I'm going to start off with the 215 souls that were claimed and carelessly discarded behind a jailhouse. So there's some new information coming out that this has been estimated for going on at least about 8 years. And this is crazy to me. So I was talking about the comment one of the subscribers left on the last video that I did this on. And you can actually go and look at that video if you haven't seen it, and it gives you really new, fresh news, because that just broke when I actually spoke on it. I was emotional because there was more questions than answers, and that's alarming when you have that many people and nobody knows anything and nobody has any answers. That has to be super, super concerning. But the person that commented on that live in the comment section spoke on how scarce the law enforcement department is, not just in that area, but in the state. That's the common practice. It is the country, is about as country as you can get. And that kind of goes with the territory, though I don't think it should, because as you can see, a lot of things go under the radar for long periods of time without being detected. One of the concerning issues that I had was that these people were claimed as missing. So you had at least 215 families, friends, and loved ones that had no idea where their loved ones are, if they were alive or unalive, what was going on. So they're walking around trying to live somewhat of a move on with somewhat of a normal life, pick up the pieces, and have no closure, have no outcome, no answers to their questions. Nobody seems to care. The questions that they do have, nobody has answers for, and a lack of empathy for how they feel with their loved ones not coming home, being missing. Your brain gets to run around in circles with 1,000 different scenarios about what could have happened because you don't have any answers, right? So, yes, T. Smith, thank you so much. I got you, babe. Appreciate you. Thank you for stopping in. And you can watch from the bushes. Just tap that like button. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, you say you hit, look, you're a step ahead of me. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to be going through some articles and videos, and I'm going to start off with this video. And there is a prison called Parchman Prison. It is the largest prison in the state of Mississippi, and it is a prison that houses most of the offenders of the state. And what I didn't know, now I knew that Jay-Z, Rock Nation, and Yo Gotti had launched or had brought a lawsuit against the prison system, but I did not know it was in the state of Mississippi. And they brought this lawsuit because of the subpar and the horrible living conditions of this prison. The people had no medical attention, so people that needed insulin, heart medication, life-threatening illnesses to where they needed to have medication to maintain their health and to keep them alive was not given to them. So there was a lot of sick people that ended up passing away. In this video, I'm gonna show some of the little clips of the living conditions that had my mouth open, because you always kind of put yourself in that position, and I just couldn't imagine that facility has not been fit for a stray animal, much less a human. And I can't imagine what these people have gone through. So, we're going to start off with that particular video. I'm going to be doing clips on that video.
We in that motherfucker, man. We got a brother down in this. You know what I'm saying? He ain't having insulin shot. He's sick, bro. We been in that building.
Put a one in the chat if you can hear it.
Buddy.
Sorry, I had it bookmarked, but
That is 80. Buddy. Mills Jr.
This is when he was sick. I don't know if he was in Clarksdale or
so everybody can hear it. Thank you.
He's sick.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward it just a little bit because I want to get to the conditions. This part was a testimony of someone's loved one that didn't get their insulin and they ended up passing away. And I'm not minimizing their experience, but there's probably 1,000 stories of this monstrosity going on within those walls that nobody has been held accountable for. And it just is kind of infuriating for me. So, okay, here we go. Ooh, yeah. See, child, that is insane. It is bad. So I think that's enough for that video. I do want to go to the article where it kind of gives details on why and when they dropped a lawsuit against this particular institution. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to highlight a couple of areas. So the social arm of the Rap Moguls Entertainment Company first filed federal lawsuits in early 2020 on behalf of over 200 prisoners, which is about the number of the bodies that were found behind the Jackson, Mississippi jailhouse. Prisoners at the Mississippi State Penitentiary in Parchman. The inmates alleged revolting conditions, rat feces, cockroaches, bird droppings, contaminating their meals, broken lights, toilets, and showers in a perpetual state of systemic failure, and a deprivation of medical care that required the self-treatment of wounds. The accusations were so alarming that the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division launched an investigation around the same time across Mississippi prison in the wake of a string of violent deaths, lockdowns, and protests outside of the state capitol to shut it down. But over the past couple of years, conditions at the prison seem to have improved substantially, enough so that last week Team Rock agreed to dismiss the claims in its lawsuit against the Mississippi Department of Corrections, signaling that one of the Parchment's fiercest critics is now confident that the only maximum security prison for men in the state appears to be turning a new page. So the next paragraph is going to list some of the improvements, alleged improvements. The changes include providing 2 functioning ambulances at the medical center at Parchment, replacing an outdated van, new stainless steel showers, toilets and sinks, upgraded heating, air conditioning, ventilation and plumbing systems, recreational activities such as basketball, flag football, and boxing, the replacement of broken tiles, and the removal of mold, and the opening of kitchen operation in additional units. Whew. We are pleased that improvements have been made inside, but we're also not going to take our foot off of the gas. As part of an agreement to dismiss the suit, Steve and other legal representatives were given unfettered access last week inside of Parchment with the film crew. They said they plan to share the footage with the Justice Department. We have and will continue to make diligent efforts to improve the quality of life for all individuals in the custody of the MDOC, provide them with the opportunities to successfully return to their communities. That is our ongoing commitment. So, I don't know how I feel about that because I'm not there. So I don't know what I don't know how long those improvements, if they will last. But looking at the conditions, the toilet is covered or was covered over because it was inoperable. There was no operable and operating insufficient plumbing. Like I said, brown water was coming out of the drinking fountain, right? Um, it was stated that the commissioner said that they can't be expected to fix these problems overnight. Well, I agree with that because it was, these problems were accumulated over decades and I think the prison was opened in 1905. And it was established by farmland because I think it covers like 18,000 acres. That is humongous. That's like the size of a small city. And it started out with 3 different farms, and those farms were occupied by free labor from the prisoners. So they were separated with a white farm for white people. The biggest farm that was operated was full of Black prisoners. That was the largest plot of land. And then there was a third farm, but I can't remember who operated that. I think it might have been a combination of anybody that was outside of what you consider Black and white. So, like I said, I don't really know a lot of the logistics behind it, but I think it should be mentioned. So I want to piggyback and kind of pivot a little back to the 215 bodies that were found behind the jail. And to my surprise, I noticed, I spoke of in the last live stream pertaining to this subject, that there was a gentleman named Dexter Wade that actually his discovery of his body led them to discover the other 214 bodies that were buried in the same place. So Dexter Wade was a 37-year-old man that was found. He was hit by an officer in his vehicle, in his patrol car. And instead of contacting the families and the department, he buried the body in the back of the jail. And the buzzards and the animals, this is all alleged through information that I have seen or read, stated that he had identification on him, but the body was so severely decomposed that they had to go off of the ID in order to identify who he was. That is so sad, and that is such degradation for burying the dead or lack thereof, in my opinion, that it's just, it's horrible. So what that did was, of course, it brought light to other missing persons that the families of some of those bodies, now it piqued their attention, and it has launched and started investigations to other ones. So this next video is going to be another family member or that has discovered information that her loved one was actually buried in the same area as Dexter Wade.
Without his family ever being notified. Now we learned by a police officer.
Hold on a minute. Take that back just a little bit. Thank you for being patient with me.
Our report last month on a man killed in Mississippi by a police officer, then buried without his family ever being notified. Now we learned a similar situation happened to another man. Here's Blaine Alexander.
For Mercedes Onachukwu, her big brother Mario Moore was one of a kind.
He was full of wisdom and charm, and he just had a personality that you did not forget easily.
His life wasn't easy. He'd spent years fighting a drug habit and could disappear for months at a time, but he would always come home. Until last month, when their sister, Marquita Moore, saw an article from NBC affiliate WLBT about homicides there in Jackson, Mississippi that had gone unreported. Mario's name was second on the list.
I just broke down. I felt just weak. And I couldn't do anything else.
According to the coroner's report, Moore was killed by blunt force trauma to the head. His body was found on the street, wrapped in a tarp, 8 months before his family ever knew. Then the second shock. Mario had already been buried in a pauper's grave behind the county jail.
We do not have a grave number. We don't have anything other than the coroner saying I buried his body in an undisclosed location.
For his mother, Mary Moore Glenn, the grief is unspeakable.
They put him in a bag and they just dump him in a grave like they're a dog or something. Who gives you the right to do that?
He was buried on July 14th, the very same day and location as Dexter Wade. His case sparked national outrage after NBC News first reported he was hit and killed by an off-duty Jackson police officer, then buried before his family was ever notified. His mother, Betterstein Wade, had spent more than 5 months searching for her son.
Help me understand what that time was like for you.
That time was horrible. You would lay in your bed. You would think he might have been out there suffering.
I'm going up beyond.
I don't want to get any copyrights on that, but they had the services finally, after a substantial amount of time, not knowing what the fate of this man was, and that the fact that he was actually unalived and he was deceased, and how his body was just discarded. They finally were able to have a proper burial and going home service for him.
And just this week, his family held the funeral he was long denied. At the time, Jackson's mayor called it a failure in communication. The Jackson Police Department has not responded to our requests for comment on either case. A police commander told Moore's family an officer left a business card at their mother's home, which they say they never saw.
If my son had committed a crime out there, I said, you all will be coming knocking at my door. And if you didn't get anybody, you would have come back.
Again.
Again.
Mario's family
So I want to mention here, there's a big similarity with this gentleman as well as Dexter Wade. The officer was asked, why didn't he contact, or did anybody from the department contact Dexter Wade's family? And the requirement is that they're supposed to notify the families of the deceased and what has happened. And he said that he called and no one answered, and that his due diligence was actually satisfied by attempting to reach out to the family. Hey, Dimple D, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. So we're talking about the 215 bodies. We're talking about that were found in Jackson, Mississippi, in a shallow grave. And a lot of these families were just told that these people were missing and not unalived. And this gentleman here was buried in the same area as Dexter Wade. And I'm going to put the link. I failed to put the link of my previous video, but I'm going to put that in the description. So if you haven't seen that video, please go back and watch it, because that led to actually me doing this live and investigating and doing research on the Mississippi penal system. And there's a lot lacking there. There's a lot of improper treatment of many, and I know it's nationwide and more than likely worldwide, but today we're focusing in on the state of Mississippi because it is a huge problem, and they're ranked number 4 in the nation of being the worst, amongst the worst prison system in the country.
Held a memorial service for him, but it has not stopped the questions. His homicide is still unsolved. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
Yes, Miss Dimple D, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Yeah, see, I don't mind it being in the bushes as long as you get the information. So thank you. So I'm not going to make this a long live because I know it can be cumbersome. And this is not a very uplifting topic, but I did want to highlight the injustices and the problems that are existing and that have existed for a substantial amount of time in the prison system in Mississippi. You never know who it can affect. You never know who and how it impacts, because it doesn't just impact the inmate. It is a trickle down effect to everybody that knows and loves those inmates. And a lot of them that did not go in with medical and health issues accumulated those issues because of the mistreatment and because of the substandard living conditions in these institutions. The first thing I thought about was the link of those shallow graves in the back of a jail. And I don't know, this is all alleged, but they were buried there for a reason. And there has to be a connection. And I'm sure it will come out eventually. Ben Crump he's a controversial attorney, but one thing I think we can all agree on, because he's representing several of the families of some of the deceased bodies that were found behind that jail. But one thing he does not do is quit, and he will push the issue, and his reach is far to find answers for those families and bring awareness on a nationwide scale. And so I'm looking forward to a lot of that information being uncovered in the near future, because now people are talking about it. There is one more video that I would like to show, which just gives a different perspective, or an additional, not even different, but just an additional perspective to what is going on.
Jackson, Mississippi. You guys have chimed in on the comments and asked me to speak about what happened or happening in Jackson, Mississippi. It is the year 2024, and this has to be one of the most interesting and groundbreaking discoveries that the world and these governments do not want to come out. 215 bodies were found behind a Jackson, Mississippi jail or prison. These bodies are on government or whatever you want to call it, the city's property. The mothers, fathers, and family members of these unalived individuals who were discovered behind this jail are saying that the city is asking them to purchase or pay a price in order to recover those bodies.
I was mortified because this is not the only time I've heard this. This has been repeated many times. And if this is true, fair use, YouTube, fair use. If this is true, that is horrific. So you're telling me that these bodies that have been mishandled, that have been hidden and discarded, for the families to actually gain possession of these bodies, they're expected to come up with money to pay. And I was always told, follow the money. There's a lot of money. So we can go off into the privatization of the prison system, how it's connected to the music industry. That's why the rap music and the hip hop music is so low vibrational, and so it promotes so much violence because it's all tied in together. So a lot of the music execs actually have a lot of money invested into these privatized prison systems. So money is coming and going by leaps and bounds, and they're making it from all different directions. And so you discard these bodies, and now that this information is coming to light, you have the nerve to charge the families to get possession of their loved ones' remains. What's left, what hasn't been deteriorated or eaten by buzzards and environmental animals that eat on carcasses, because they didn't have enough decency to dig a deep enough of a grave so they couldn't be picked at. These people were buried in bags. They weren't given any type of consideration at all on how they were placed. They were discarded like garbage. And you're talking 215. Now, once we're done with this video, I'm going to give you a few stats, and those are alarming because the first thing that we tend to think is that race is included, and I'm not saying racism is not a factor, But in this particular instance, you're going to be surprised at the statistics on the racial gap on the victims that were discovered.
Now, I don't know anything. This is still preliminary reports. The interesting thing about it is there are so many missing persons reports in Jackson, Mississippi. There was one that was even discovered where a police officer hit an individual with his police cruiser, unaliving this man. And instead of notifying his family, instead of notifying his mother, they had inmates dig a hole in the ground behind the prison and buried him. If this doesn't dissolve or bring down a lot of big time people in that police department, I don't know what will, because that's corruption at its all-time high. So if you have someone missing in your family and you are from Jackson, Mississippi, your loved one could potentially be behind that jail.
Ooh. So this is a good time to expound or to comment on C. Child's comment that the devil is alive. This is definitely Satan's playground. This world that we're living in, keep your loved ones close. With technology being the way that it is, tracking devices, the ability to notify and keep your loved ones at least in the loop of their whereabouts. These people had to go through links in order to obscure this information for as long as they did. But God sits high. And we keep saying that 2024 is the year of exposure. We're in the second week of January. And even though this started, I think the story broke last year, like many other stories, it is being brought to the forefront. And it is actually coming to light a lot of these injustices that the enemy is behind. And so we have to definitely stay spiritually diligent, prayed up. And I want to say we need to do the right thing, because whatever you're doing in the dark or what you could do in the dark is definitely going to be brought to the light. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow. But as I said, God sits high and his will be done.
This is disturbing, guys. And I hate to bring this type of news to people, but we have to talk about it. And if you know more than me, you can chime in on the comment section. But we gotta keep light on things that are unfair, unreal, just nefarious in nature, even if it's ugly. It's the only way for this country to get better and to do better is to expose the ugliness. And this what happened in Jackson is very ugly.
Man, there's a lot going on in this world. I'm at a loss. Right now, I am at a loss. So I do want to give some statistics on what's going on. on the bodies that were found. So out of the 215 bodies that were discovered, 202 have been identified. Stay with me. This is a lot. So the percentage of male over female is astounding. 78% of the males out of 202. 159 were men. 21% were female. It was 43. And when I say this is not just a racial thing, surprisingly, only 46% were Black. 71% were white of the bodies that were discovered. Another surprising statistic and interesting enough to note was the age groups. So from ages 20 to 49, there were 76 people in that age group that were discovered. From ages 50 to 79, 168. 168. That's 83% from 50 to 79, which tells me that these people were probably less capable of defending themselves. That's astounding, especially with me being in my 50s. That's alarming. And to caveat onto that, there were 27 bodies that were discovered that were over the age of 80. There was a 92-year-old, a 93-year-old, and I want to say, I think a 97-year-old that was found in that graveyard. Bolo! Thank you, Bolo, for coming in. I figured you would find this to be definitely disturbing as well as enlightening with these statistics. This is insane to me. So again, ages 50 to 79, out of 202 bodies, 168 were between the ages of 50 and 79. Above the ages of 80 were 27 people. That's 13% of the bodies that were found that were over the age of 80. 58% out of the 202 were male, white males. Now that surprised me. 30% were Black males. That number was 61. So there's a huge disparity there between Black and white. You had 2 Hispanics, 1 Native American, and 2 that were classified as others. 16% were white female. That number was 32 out of 202. Only 6% were Black female. I really don't know what to make of that, but I thought it was worthy enough to mention. I actually did the stats on that because there's a list, and the link is in the description box to the article of the names of the 202 that were found. I'm really good at giving alleged facts. I know that's a dichotomy, but I have to say alleged for fair use in YouTube purposes. However, it dispels the notion that this was a racial act over the period of about 8 years that this went on to accumulate that many bodies. So we still have 13 bodies that were so decomposed that they haven't been able to be identified up until now. I'm going to drop the link. I'm not pressuring anybody to come up, but I always like to open the panel for discussion, input, if anybody wants to come up. So if you can just tap that like button, coming in if you haven't already. And the link is posted for StreamYard. For anybody that has any comments, concerns, questions. And that pretty much kind of concludes what I have today as far as linking the mistreatment and the inhumane care or lack thereof. Hey, Candyman, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Of the bodies that were found behind the Jackson, Mississippi jail, and that I don't care what anybody says. In my personal opinion, there has to be a correlation and a connection to that jail and why they chose that area behind the jailhouse. I know it's heavily guarded, or at least monitored. And because it worked, it took years for this information to come to light and for this story to become a story and for some families to finally get some answers. I know it's not the answers that they were praying or hoping for. However, it kind of is what it is. So with that being said, I know I'm a little more emotionally grounded today, though still very disturbed by this story, because this is just one of many. Think about all of the information that has not been brought to the forefront, has not been discovered, or if it's been discovered, it hasn't been brought to the public in the fashion that it should be. And that's given in truth. And that's problematic. I'm going to say it again. Keep your loved ones close. If you are having issues with people that you love, to me, this is humbling. And this also is a reminder that nothing should be too big to resolve issues, or at least to gain some understanding between people that you love. Because I know when both of my parents have passed on, and I'm just going to give my personal experience on the topic. My father passed. He felt ill. Well, I felt he was ill for a while, but he didn't tell the family until he couldn't hide it anymore. And then he felt extremely ill, so he didn't suffer for a long period of time. But at the time that he passed, his family was there. He did not pass alone. And then a year later, my mother became ill. She was actually ill for almost 10 years, and I took care of her for 10 years. She wasn't able to walk. She had a lot of health issues. And that's why I'm such an advocate on taking care of yourself. And I've educated myself on how to get healthy, stay healthy, and maintain your health. It's the biggest gift you can give yourself. And in those 10 years, I remember being asleep one night. Bolo, I see you. Give me just a moment. And she woke me up out of my sleep. She was having a heart attack. And she was able to hold my hand. And I don't know how I woke up, but I heard her voice. She hadn't been feeling good the couple of days prior to that. But I heard her voice. I got up, I went in to check on her. she held my hand and she said, "Angel child, thank you for taking care of me, and I will see you soon." And so I saw her pass as well. And at the time, I was angry because it traumatized me. I was a daddy's girl, and it took me a long time to actually be able to move on from how he passed and transitioned. And then for it to happen to my mom, at the time, I didn't realize it was the biggest gift I was given, or one of the biggest gifts. Because me and my mom, we had a complicated relationship when I was younger. But I forgave my mother, and my mother was able to forgive me for the things that she felt I needed forgiveness for. And in hindsight, I thank God every day that they did not transition alone, because during a prayer one time, it was like a person was sitting in the room with me, and I heard him say to me, "This wasn't about you. This was about them. And you were assigned to them to take care of them, and them not to suffer or transition alone." And I tell you that story because now in hindsight, if I would have woken up and my mom would have been gone, that would have been a different type of trauma, right? So I just want to reiterate, whatever differences you have with people that you love and you're having differences with, it can't be bigger than your love. Make it right, because we never know the last time we'll see them. And I don't know I don't want to know. And I'm glad I wasn't in a position with my family and my parents to know what it feels like and what it would feel like not to be able to say, "I'll see you later." Hey, Bolo.
Hey, just give me 1 second. Just give me a second.
Take your time. Take your time. C. Child says, "Is there an open investigation on how those bodies got behind the police station, or has this all been swept under the rug?" So my personal understanding is that's what Ben Crump is attempting to do. He is trying to draw national attention enough to where the feds can pick it up. Because up until now, and like I said, I think Dexter Wade, the first body that was found in that shallow grave, was actually done early last year. And so for a long time, it has been kept local. Now that it's gaining traction with the help of social media and the family speaking out and them retaining Ben Crump, which has a far and wide reach, the goal is to get the feds involved so it can become under a federal investigation. Because I think we pretty much know, as long as it stays local, nobody's going to get the right answers. So I hope that helps. Welcome, Wooderman. Thank you for joining. All right. Thank you for stopping in and saying hi, and hit that like button going back in the bushes. Thank you.
Hey. Oh my God. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Hey, Bolo.
How you doing, Miss Akemi?
All is well. All is well. Can't complain. Good to see you.
They're gonna say that I don't know what they're gonna say when I give you your flowers, because every time we speak positively about someone that's doing the work, they say we D right, but you ain't got no D, so what is this?
That part. I better not.
Hey, you better not.
I better not. Last time I checked, I didn't. So we gonna.
Hey, I'm gonna assume that you don't. I'm gonna assume that you don't because you got a kid, so you're a natural born woman.
Yes, amen.
But yeah, man, I wanna give you flowers, man, for following up on this story. I mean, when I look at all the videos that you've done so far, the topics, what I'm saying, you've been intentional. You've been really putting out great content. It's just now for the people to get the eyes over here because you're raising awareness on very, very relevant stuff that is affecting people's lives in real time. This story is just incredible. I mean, this is not racial, not like you said. This is just about inhumane behavior and practices. Like no heart, no nothing. This is just pure evil, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. It really, it's a shocker. In 2023, you know what I'm saying? Like it says a lot about the state. Like this is America. It's not a third world country. I know a lot of stuff be going on around the world, like similar to this, that is just crazy. But you don't expect this from America. Nah, you just don't. I know I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not to interrupt you, but I know you live in Jamaica, but living in this country, your eyes are opened, because from the outside looking in, no, typically we're not presented as a third world country. The media controls so much that they're definitely not going to look at all the migrants. That kind of shows you the impression and the on the surface of what they want this country to appear to be. But now a lot of the migrants are here and they're upset and they're angry because how this country is truly ran behind the scenes from the machine and the powers that be. They're getting a taste of that. So living in the South, in the southern region of the country, unfortunately, these events are not uncommon. Another thing that's not uncommon is for a lot of these atrocities not to come to the surface or to light. But I will say that social media is, there's a fine line between evil and good when it comes to social media. And the good aspect is that it definitely is used as a catalyst to raise awareness. That is why I'm intentional about the content that I'm putting out, even though it's less favored. It's not pure entertainment. It's not laugh evoking all the time, because the world that we live in, particularly in the South, this is more of a reality for a lot of people that the world is not aware of. And we have to remember too that this is the devil's playground. The Bible tells you that, and I love what Kwame always brings this point out, that we are to be in the world, but not of the world. And to me, that's very powerful because it's a reminder that we don't really have a choice but to be here, but we do have a choice on how we move and how we live in this world. And the times that we're living in does not allow us to straddle the fence. So we have to pick a side. We have to be very intentional and very, very decisive about the type of lives that we live. And there's a lot more evil and discontentment than there is peace in this world. And that's why I feel like there's such a struggle and there's always work to do on an individual level for us to seek peace, because it is always the enemy's objective to take our peace and to steal our peace.
It sounds like you have to focus on what you control, right?
Very well put. Yep, that's right. And it's a fight. It's always
It
a
truly
fight.
is. Because it can be, emotionally overwhelming. Sometimes, given that you have sympathy and empathy, and you wanna do something, and sometimes it's really outside of your power to make immediate change. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So focusing on what you can control is very important. But what is alarming to me is the fact that they have to be going out of their way to get attention to this story for the FBI to pick it up. That is insane. All right? That part is really truly insane. And this is why when I saw the story and I saw you put it out, I'm like, yo, I did a whole live just to say, people, go watch the video, share the video. This needs to get the attention of major YouTubers or major news groups, right? Because I don't understand that part. And whatever it is, I might not understand, but it's up to us to do what we can do to make sure that this gets the attention that it needs, so change can come.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying as well, when I was doing, because I if you haven't seen the stream, I encourage you to go back and look at it, because I've been doing research. I've been kind of off the grid the past couple of days because this story has disturbed my spirit to the point where I've had to do more research. And the things I've been discovering is that the state of Mississippi's penal institution is actually notorious for this kind of behavior when it comes to the treatment of their inmates. And so the largest prison in Mississippi that houses a majority of the long-term offenders Rock Nation, Jay-Z, and Yo Gotti launched a lawsuit against, it's called Parchman Prison, and back in 2020. And they actually just lifted, I think a month or two ago, the lawsuit because the prison made substantial improvements. Now, they're, like I said, you go back, I put the links in the description to the articles and the videos that I used for reference in the stream today. And it was so bad that in their drinking fountains in the cells, that if they had running water, a lot of it was coming out brown. And they didn't have a lot of operating plumbing. So they were defecating in bags. They had bags over the toilets because they were inoperable. The roofs had so many holes in them that they had to put several buckets to catch the water. There's a clip in this video where there was a huge bucket that I think they use when they go to collect the linen out of the cells, and it was over half full, and you could just see the water streaming through the roof. There was also a clip in there where there was a fire on the lower level, and the gentleman couldn't breathe. He had a mask on, and it almost brought me to tears because he went live and he said that the fire started around 1 o'clock in the morning and it was 8 o'clock when he activated the video. And he told his mom he loved him because he didn't think he was going to survive. And you could see the cloud of smoke on his floor. And it, like I said, it reminded me of like a hookah lounge or a smoking lounge with a thickness of smoke. And he was really pleading for anybody that was able to observe the video to call the authorities to actually extinguish the fire so they don't die. And you know that smoke rises, heat rises. And so his floor was above the flames. And they're actually, it's just way more dangerous up on the upper levels. And so with me, I know that they launched the lawsuit in 2020. So the lawsuit has been less than 3 years old. And so there's been some improvements made, but this prison is also known that once the attention dies down, because the parchment penal system was actually launched in 1905. So these substandard living conditions have been going on since then. No major repairs. People that go into the institutions that are sick don't get medical care, or they haven't gotten medical care. And they don't get the medicine. You got diabetics, you got people that require heart medication, insulin. They were dying because of lack of medical care. And so just basic needs. And what really kind of floored me is that the American Disabilities Act did not apply to that prison. Now, I don't know if that is nationwide. It sounded like it was specific to that particular state. I'm not 100% sure. It's all alleged because I'm unaware. But people were dying because they weren't getting their basic needs met. Things like running water, toilets that flush, roofs that don't leak. The ability to they can't go out and get their medication. They have to rely on people to bring it to them. And they just they haven't cared to the point where there was a lawsuit, a national lawsuit that was brought against them. And so that was the only thing that motivated them to do any type of renovations, because there's so much money involved in the privatized prison system. And I was saying earlier how the music industry is directly linked to our prison system to fill it up, because there's so much money that is made that a lot of the corporations, the musical corporations and executives, they actually have a large majority of their monies in stocks that are invested. And I know Kwame has mentioned this too throughout the years of being on YouTube. And he said, I remember him saying that at one point he was actually invested into the prison system, but he withdrew those stocks and he chose not to participate any longer. So this is all systematic. And you always follow the money. Always follow the money. And so this picture is a lot bigger than just being inhumane, in my opinion. If you don't have to put money back into the institution, but you get money per body, because that's why they want to fill these prisons to capacity, is because the more prisoners they have, the more free labor they have. And the origin of this particular prison started out, it covers 18,000 acres, Bolo. That's the size of a small city.
Bruh.
And it started out with 3 farms.
The hell?
And all of the labor to maintain those farms, they had a white farm, had a black farm, and then all of the other nationalities that didn't fit white or black had the third farm. And that was free labor in order to grow crops that these people sold to the public. 18,000 acres.
Yo, that is the numbers. You know, it puts context to everything. You
Yes.
know, like, yo, this is really, really insane, bro. Because just the bigger picture, like you said, it's not just what it seems like. That means we definitely got to get to break this wide open, man, because somebody is profiting immensely off the pain and suffering of these people and their families. And you know, based off what you're saying, I don't think they want that to change at all. They got a great thing going on down there, filling their pockets.
Ms. Carolyn Stewart, are you willing to hit the link? I mean, just in case, no pressure, but I would love to hear your perspective on this subject since you have experience with working at that. That is groundbreaking. You could probably add a lot of insight to this story and to additional valuable information other than what I've been able to uncover through publications and videos. And it sounds like you have a lot of knowledge. So feel free and welcome to hit the link and add value to the conversation if you're willing. That would be amazing. Because this subject is, I'm emotional. I don't know if I'm cut out for this because I'm just like, I'm a mixture of anger, of sorrow,
Right.
empathy, confusion as to
Hmm.
how we are living in a world and children are still being born in the system
Mm.
and they're being indoctrinated from birth. And another note to mention is in this country, when you are born, that's why they don't like for babies to be born at home.
Hmm.
Because you are born with a birth certificate, which is a serial number. And ultimately, we are the property of this country. That's why they get away with so much, right? And that's why
Not o-
CPS can come in and take your children and really not give you justifiable explanations.
not only that, when you know, get locked up, those rights diminish instantly.
They're
So
gone.
whatever rights you had before as a citizen, it goes down immensely. This is why the perpetual uh, feeding of crime is so important to these people. This is a modern day, you know, slave trade, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
That's what this is.
Yes.
These people are profiting largely off a modern version of the slave trade. It's very subtle. You know, these same people have allegedly, you know, shares in the music. What is the music like? The music is, oh, kill, 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 kill this, kill that, kill each other. You know, it's all about destroying each other physically. That's the music that's being pushed, and these same people allegedly control that same system, the music industry. So now they are the gatekeepers of who actually gets to have a voice or become a superstar. If you're an independent artist, that's why you will always be shunned. If you're an independent comedian like Cat Williams, you're always gonna be exiled because they don't want your success to be perfect. They don't want an example of your success. to be perpetuated by anyone else. The more persons that are of that independent space, it's gonna crack into their system, you know, and eventually, if there's a majority of independent artists, then their system is gonna be dead
Yes,
because
Bolo.
they won't be able to control the type of material that you're putting out. Those individuals being independent can be so intentional about the message that they want to put out. Say, for instance, even in the movie industry, it's the same thing. Support independent, you know, directors, producers, and all that. You know what I'm saying? Be intentional. Be intentional about that. Your responsibility as a consumer of you know, anything from the media. You know, search out for the underground people that are doing independent film. You know, let their work rival those that are being pushed by mainstream, and let's see what happens. You'd be surprised the shift that will occur. So we got stuff that we control, but we have to understand what we all control, and then we got to put it in practice. We really got to do the work, and it's some simple things that we need to do. But it's just about being intentional and understanding, being conscious, so you can be positively intentional.
Absolutely, Bolo. Well said. Well said. We've got Miss Carolyn Stewart joining us on the panel. Thank you so much for coming up. I am excited to hear your contribution to the conversation. Welcome.
Thank you. So this thing with Mississippi has been going on for a long time. This is like that deep rooted, you know, from the 1800s type of thing, that it's hard when it's just like one person and you feel like, you know, no one's hearing you, no one's paying attention to you. As I stated earlier, I grew up in Clarksdale, and I worked there in from 19 it was like a year and a half, and I from 1991 until 92. And actually what made me even leave there was, at the time I had a 2-year-old, and my 2-year-old went to say something to me, and I said, "You're lying." And then I was like, what a 2-year-old know about lying? I was like, I turned in my letter of resignation. I left because it was putting me in the mindset that males, you know, were liars. And I saw that change happening with me with my 2-year-old. So I'm like, okay, if it's doing that to me with him, you know, I can only imagine what it would do to me with older men and, you know, dating and whatnot. So I put in my resignation and I left. And at that time, like I said, it was doing the same thing. It's the largest. It holds the largest amount of Black men. There is no, you know how they say you have the right to have your particular diet, you have the right. There are no rights. They determine what is right for you. Um, it's just, I mean, it's been horrible ever since then. But it's like, what can you do when it's the old money? Even when they started after Martin Luther King, that's why he got killed in Tennessee, because he was on his tour and he went and he was in Mississippi. And fortunately, my parents and my grandparents didn't have to work in the fields. However, my mom used to get trucks and take people to the field. But during the time when it was to harvest for the field, they would take the children out of school, give them a cracker, an apple slice, and a box of milk. And that's what they would have for lunch from working in the fields. So all of the things that Martin Luther King was fighting for, that's where it actually started. And I can promise you that it still hasn't moved too far up, from that same particular thing.
Would you mind me asking, wow, so after working in the fields all day, wow, you said they got crackers, an apple slice, and milk?
They would get a cracker, an apple slice, and a box of milk.
And how many hours would they work during the day?
12 to 15 hours a day.
That's unbelievable. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Ballhead Wayne, salute to you. Tra, salute to you. Thank you for coming in and joining the conversation. Miss Carolyn Stewart is on the panel. She actually has experience working at Parchment Prison, and she's given her experience of her tenure there. And so working in the fields from 12 to 15 hours a day, man, when you're talking about inhumane treatment, it's a wonder that people were dropping like flies and so very malnourished and sickly. So what's your take on the medical aspect of it? So can you add to the conversation on your experience in that regard?
So even with the medical, so everything is subpar, everything is substandard, everything is, when the cameras are coming, they direct them to one side so that they can only see that particular view of it. They'll put the quote unquote best inmates up. They'll put the when you come in to work, they know the people who are not their particular, guards and stuff. They won't say anything against what it is that they're doing. That's what they're going to show. They're not going to show what really happens. There was an older man in there. He used to wash my car for me, and he was sick, but I call him the five that every Black person has, and it's only because of the way we eat. The diabetes, the heart, kidney issues. It's running rampant because they don't care what they feed them and who on the outside is caring. Not that we don't care on the outside, but it's like, what can you do? It's all this old money. It's old money. It's, that's deep rooted. So what can you do? Your hands are tied.
And I think that's where a lot of the hopelessness comes from, is because the money, the power, like you said, the old money, this is all systemic, and it's been implemented for such a long time that it's just generations being born under the same system with the same doctrine.
Yep, that's exactly, that's how it is. And when you attempt to fight, if it's just you are easily intimidated because, they'll blackball you and you won't be able to work, feed your family. And then it just gets to the point where I had the opportunity to be able to say, okay, this is not me. I'm not with this, and I left. But I don't go home often. And the last time I was there is in 2017 when I buried my mom because she wanted to be buried there. But I do have a real good friend. Her son was put in jail. My brother-in-law was put in jail with a rape charge, and he didn't even rape anybody. It's crazy. Like, you can just say if they want to get you, because that's what my friend, the judge, said with my friend. He was in court, and they said, well, I think you involved in a gang. He had never been arrested. He had never been in any gang activity, but the judge said he feels like he had been involved in gang activity. And so they gave him life, but he ended up, I think he did about 10 or 15 years, and he did end up getting out. But I'm just saying, it's like I said, that old money, it's whatever they say, it's no justice at all.
Wow. Whew, it's a lot. That's how long did you work there?
I only worked there, like I said, a year because of that, like that incident that I had with my son, and I just saw that it was triggering me to think, all Black men, because that's all you see, really, it's the Black population, the population of Black men. It's probably the white male percentage. I don't know what it is now, but then for every probably 50 Blacks, there were about 2 whites.
And how many guards were per capita on the inmates?
Oh, that I don't remember, but I do remember. Okay, there will be 2 working inside at night, 1 in the tower, approximately 3. And then approximately 3, it would be like 2 inside and 1 outside in the tower. Now, there were over 100 bunks on these towers. They would have beds on each side, and then there were about 4 bays. There were about 4 bays, and each bay had beds on both sides. And there were a lot of things that was going on. But with 3 guards, it's nothing really, that you can do. And they would send one of us down to do the count. One person would be standing on the outside, so that if something happened to me, like as a female, when you're going down to do the count, if they grab you and hem you up in there, it's nothing that you can do until the other guard that's standing outside calls for help, and then they come in and they do a sweep.
Wow, because one of the clips that I showed, well, I didn't show the entire thing because I didn't want to, have issues with YouTube. But I also read where, and in that clip, there was a lot of inmate on inmate assaults and crime, and a lot of that, to my understanding, was allowed. Did you find that to be the case?
Yes and no. So I had an incident with one of the inmates, and when I had the incident with the inmate, they did come in and they tore up the whole the bays. They just tore the bays up. And so the inmates don't like it when they come in and tear up their bays, because now, they have the dogs to do the drug searches and blah, blah, blah. So they don't like that. So I had an inmate call me over to the side, and he basically said to me, look, if you have any trouble out of anybody on any of these bays, can you tell me first? Tell me, and then if I don't get it handled, then, you can go up the chain for that to happen. But he basically, that's what he told me. He was like, if something happens, let me know first.
Wow.
And so I'm only there 8 hours because, that's my shift. So, during the other times, and then, on my days off, it's no telling what is going on. And I know that all types of things were going on. but I would just keep myself away from those things, because I didn't want to be involved either way with the seeing and not being able to say something, because that's not my MO. Like, I can't. No, that's not right. That was how I was always. That's not right. No, that's not right.
Hey, I'm the same way, and sometimes I get in trouble because even here on YouTube, people is gonna tell me, "Oh, stay out of women's business" and this and that. When I'm a participant of what I see on YouTube, and I see people behave in a certain way, and I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. You're being an ass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're acting like an ass. This is facts. I just can't not say anything, but get in trouble for speaking the truth. But it's all good. We're gonna continue to stand on the truth. I rather that stand on that hill than be here, on here just capping and being a go along, get along type of person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I worked there between 1991 and 92, so I'm not familiar when the Yo Gotti and Jay-Z campaign hit. I see My Life 73 asked me was I working there then, but I've always, everybody knows. So let me explain this to you too. They pay the most. So it was one of those jobs, like living in Clarksdale. If you worked at Parchman or the chemical plant or Cooper Tire, you would have enough income to basically sort of do what you wanted to do. So we all went to like Memphis, and then the casinos came. And once the casinos came, that opened up a whole other level for people. So those people there are not going to speak against their income.
Exactly. That's the motivating factor. That's why they pay what they pay.
Right.
And they can afford to, because they're definitely not putting the money into the infrastructure of the facility. They're not investing into any of the inmates' well-being and their welfare. So at the very least that they can do. And I find that to be pretty much true kind of across the board, across the nation, because it to me, it's another way of investing, protecting their interests,
Mm-hmm.
another way
So
of control.
so you're saying ultimately that the system of dehumanizing these inmates have worked because people find it
Basically.
easy
Yep.
to just hush their mouth when they see inhumane acts happening to them.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I was there, there was a raid, and some of the women had gotten fired for like sleeping with the inmates and so on and so forth. But like I said, everything is pushed under like a hush hush type thing. When you threaten to expose things, like as far as with the warden, um as far as with, because ultimately the warden has to say. So if you are exposing something and it's going to involve the warden, you know, he basically has fall guys. And then they're going to put them on suspension for a while, with pay. And then they come back to work.
What?
Nothing ever happened.
Wow.
Are you serious? With pay?
With pay.
What the hell going on?
Well, you think about it too, Bolo, like New York comes to mind, like the New York Police Department
Yeah.
is allegedly considered one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. And across the board, though, typically Like even with the what's the gentleman that was suffocated with the knee on his neck?
George.
So
George?
yeah,
Yes. So with him, those officers were on paid leave until their trial, even though he was on video.
yeah, that is
That's
crazy.
not uncommon. It's wrong in my opinion, but it's standard practice in the correctional field.
So basically, a officer can be on tape clearly, uh, contributing to the death of a man, and be given the benefit of the doubt before going to trial, as to be proven innocent before actually being proven guilty. But
Mm-hmm.
our race of people, without any evidence, or with little bit of evidence, or with some evidence, is gonna be the opposite.
Mm-hmm. And basically that's the same way with the officers also. With if you are an officer, let's say a black officer was caught fraternizing with the inmates, that's an immediate termination for you. But for the white officers, it has to be an investigation, and whatever they find throughout their investigation, it's hey, like if you're palm colored, you're right. If you're not, you know, you're guilty until you're proven innocent.
Absolutely. And that's one of the many challenges, people of color have to face, not just that industry, but corporate and all of the other work industries across the nation as well. And like you said, it's kind of an unspoken rule, but because they run those organizations and those corporations, they can make those types of calls and navigate to where it doesn't, they're not held accountable.
So just back here in 2020, around COVID time, I was actually teaching at a prison in Tennessee, and it's the same things. But the only difference between Tennessee is trying, because to keep the recidivism rate down. That's how I ended up there teaching. They were trying to, if you are in jail for longer than 6 months, they require you to get a GED. If you are in there for life, and you have long sentences, 30 years and all that, you are required to take classes, because Tennessee had some type of review that they did, and they told them that if you don't educate these people by the year, I think they were saying 2030, that they would just not be able to have educated people that are educated enough to be able to work to keep Tennessee going. So Tennessee has this I forget the name of it, but they started this thing where everybody, when you coming through the system, you have to be educated. And so I was working for the state, but I was teaching down there at the school. And even then, it's like they have the computers in there. I'm a computer technician, and I teach them how to fix it. But the students had access to the internet, but me as the teacher did not. So
Oh,
how am I supposed to teach, and I don't have access to the internet?
wow.
So it's like the craziest things that they do. And so my time is spent arguing with them, trying to get me internet access. Well, I'm a black mother, so I know how to make it work. So I just connected my computer to the students' internet, and we were down like one computer. I would teach from the computer that was open. But I'm just saying, you give me the peanut butter, but you don't give me the bread to put the peanut butter on. And
Exactly.
that's what they do typically in the South. and I'm in Georgia now. It's like that Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. It's those, there are 3 across the board that is happening all the time. And it's just like, you hands down, you just feel like you can't do anything because you're fighting against the big long dollars.
So it just sounds as if, they pretty much have all the bases covered in order to keep the system running the way that it was designed to run.
Mm-hmm.
So what you said? Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other states that's like that?
Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi.
1 second.
Wow. And it's not uncommon, I think the South definitely has reputation. And there was a comment that was, I thought I highlighted, that was really, really profound. Let me see. There it is. The unpopulated counties in this modern time is in the South is unsafe. There was a lady, I mentioned this early in the stream, where there was a lady that made a comment on the last video where I actually spoke on the 215 bodies being discovered behind the jail. And she was stating that she lived in the area and that they were so understaffed. And that was also by design because it's easier to keep things under, brushed under the rug and on the hush hush when you don't have a lot of hands in the pot and a lot of different people that you anticipate will buck the system.
Right.
So there are a lot of people are handpicked into that penal system to make sure that they keep the anonymity and that they keep a lot of the things, the atrocities that should come out and be spoken about and dealt with, that they don't come to light. And so that's where a lot of the hangings are. People are bolder in the South because you have much more land per capita than you do people and law enforcement. Like here where I live in the South too. And like at night, well, in the area that I live in, the only time you see police officers is after the fact, after a crime has been committed. And I lived on the West Coast for a long time, and that's not how it works out there. They are preventative. They harass people. They invest largely into their law enforcement agencies. They create different avenues of law enforcement to specifically target different departments and different types of crime, from the investigative to the patrols. And out here, it was kind of a culture shock for me in that regard because I was so used to looking in my rearview mirror when I drove. You would see patrol officers everywhere. It's like no matter what part of town you were in, they were very visible. And here, crime is I think is a lot higher than it's reported because, like I said, most law enforcement officers don't show up until they're called. And even in emergency cases, they don't show up until hours later.
And even here, I'm not even afraid to say I'm in Georgia, and it's the same here. You have even in a place it's called College Park, you see people that are being picked up. You hear all the time where people they just come up dead. Like I have told my children, listen, I don't care how down I get. I don't care how depressed I get. I don't care how much I don't want to be in this life, I will never just kill myself because I can't see myself killing myself. So if they tell you they found me somewhere hung, I did not do it to myself.
That's
You
right.
just have to let people know to
That's right.
look, I didn't do that. I wouldn't unalive myself
Mhm.
because they do that here. As a matter of fact, one day I was going home and they had a dump truck out. They had blocked off one of the exits and they had a bulldozer and the bulldozer was scooping up all the tents. Like there's some people and they live under the bridge and they scooped up all their stuff and they had the whole area blocked off and they put it over in the dump truck and they drove off. And so I'm like, but where are they putting the people? Where are the people going? What's going on? But it's like, man,
They did this at night, Carolyn?
no, this was in the broad daylight. They blocked the exit out on a day, like in broad daylight.
Mm. See how bold? I made that statement. They're bold with it. They're a lot more overt.
Because they know that in the daylight the people won't be over there. So that's when they chose to go and destroy their quote unquote community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't want to, hold your time up too much, but I do have a question for you because one thing about my mindset, um, and I think Bolo, I can speak for Bolo as well, is I know it seems dismal, but we're solution oriented people. And so even if we don't come up with operable solutions, because I think if that was the case, they probably would have been implemented already, but maybe some preventative or, like precaution, like when you were saying with your children, it's a tough conversation to have, but nonetheless it's necessary because this is real life, that we have to educate our children and we have to let them know, if something happens to me, you know me better than most, if not anybody, that I did not do this to myself. Are there any other points or any other solution oriented parts of the conversation that you may be able to kind of add? Because I just, concluding a live stream of this type of weight, I don't want people to be discouraged and to be hopeless. I want to, also provoke part of the conversation that we're not as powerless as we are made to believe. So even if it's individually in our own homes and not on a grand scale, that's where it should start because, there's a trickle down effect in this process. One of mine would be to definitely be in your children's life, be your children's biggest advocate and your loved ones, your young adults, your grown children, to avoid these penal systems at all costs. Nobody's asking you to be an Uncle Tom, but I think we can all agree that these are places that we don't want to end up.
One thing that I was actually thinking about, I just didn't know how to go about to start such a big initiative, but I really wanted to start to go into schools to start with the children, to get the parents to come in and get a will and set up a trust.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
then you have their attention, and when people start to get insurance and they're insured,
Bingo.
then you provoke the system. Now they're going to do something because they don't want to pay.
Yep. Say it.
They don't want to pay. So
Yes.
most of the people don't have insurance. And so that's where, where the problem comes in. And so but if with our community, if we could just get it started to get those wills and trusts set in place, then once those are in place, start to teaching people how to set these trusts up so that because I didn't even know you could pay $30,000 and $40,000 when a child is born, and then they never have to pay insurance. But they'll be insured for the rest of their life. I just found out that when I turned 50. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these are things that we don't know and we aren't aware of, so we can't do it. But I think if we, that's somewhere palatable to start, because you can go in and say, hey, I'm having an initiative, and go to all the schools, parents, come get these wheels set up, get these trusts set up in place, because if they know that it's affordable and they can do it, they'll do it.
Hey, she just hit the jackpot. I mean,
Yes.
you
Say it.
gotta understand. I heard this years ago from a YouTuber called Brother Garfield from the conscious community. He said one of the best ways we could fight the crime against black people, every single person get life insurance. When you go into the pockets of the system, that's what they respect. They don't like nothing that affects their money. So if you keep killing us and you gotta pay all these insurance money, it sounds weird. It sounds like people that think in a certain type of dark way. But I'm telling you, she just hit the nail right smack middle on the head.
Yes.
And that shit has been driven straight down. That wood is not moving. That is firm. That's gonna be there for a lifetime. Just take heed to what she said, and parents, just do it, man. You would just do it. I'm telling you, just do it.
That is so profound and so powerful. And we've been hearing that a lot, but that's the power of collaboration and getting like minds together, because by design, our children are not taught this in school. I've spoken of this before, but I have a teenage son, and even though he goes to a charter school, I also educate him at home. I've taught him about stocks. I've taught him about insurance. He has his own bank account. He has established credit. I tried to instill this into him early, because, like many in my generation, I was not taught that. And then when I did learn it, I was older, and I probably have more life behind me than I have ahead of me. And so this is how we break generational curses, is by becoming literate, whether it's on a financial level, which is that is what runs the world, and particularly this country. Is the language that is spoken is monetary. That's what most people understand. But just like they go out of their way to brush things under the rug and to prevent things from coming out that can impact people's mindset and the communities and bring unity. That same concept, I think, and feel applies to us teaching our children, especially once we learn. I know for me, I have an adult son as well. And anytime I learn something, I immediately, once it's confirmed and it works for me, I pass that on. I pass it on as soon as I learn it, because it is so important, and none of us are promised tomorrow. And as we can tell by this live stream and the context and the topic of the live stream, that anything can happen at any time. And I don't want, for me to be called away from this world with my legacy and my children being ill-equipped on how to navigate.
And I'm going to say this, like, people in the South love football games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could catch them right at the football games. So I'm not real versed on the law, but like I said, I wouldn't even mind. I would take 2 weekends out of a month, go to Mississippi and sit right there on the football fields and catch the people coming in and out, because one, they're not aware, but once you make them aware, then they'll start to do it. And then whatever, if it's even if it's a minimal charge, I would become a notary myself just to be able to help, to be able to notarize these documents right on the spot, and let them write it in. But I have computer printer, I can travel with all that, and I can print them out for them. But I would just have to know that whatever I'm giving them, it's legal in that state. But yeah, I would be willing. I would volunteer my time to do that, because like you, I have more life behind me than in front. But just to be able to empower, if it doesn't help but 3 people, then I can literally say, I put it out there. But sometimes it's just we don't know, because that's what my issue was. I didn't know.
Or if we know, sometimes we don't know how to formulate a plan of action. Like you
Right.
said, I would have
Mhm.
never have thought, like my son plays football. I would have never have thought about that. And that is a wonderful suggestion. And I am a notary. So now you've planted a seed with me. And I love to talk, and I love meeting people, and I love educating, as well as being educated. Salute to everybody that's coming in. Let me just take a moment to welcome Shelvis Patrick II. Thank you for coming in. My life, I'm checking out all of your comments. I just didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation, but you got some great points. I posted the link. I know some people feel more comfortable from the chat, but you seem extremely knowledgeable, and you seem like you would have some good stuff to value to add to the conversation as well. Just no pressure, but I posted the link if you would like to join in. Doesn't have to be long, but I love the points that you're making in the chat. And last but definitely not least, Double Speaks. Pastor Speaks done came into the chat. He done came into the chat.
Salute to the pastor and the judge. Oh,
Yeah.
and this is a safe space, okay?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And don't take this the wrong way to the newcomers, but Pastor would get this. I wear draws. Okay. So I just wanted to, I just wanted to say that.
Oh my God, Bishop Hughes.
I wanted to say that.
Oh my God.
I know. Okay, I know. I digress. So again, all right. Thank you, my life. I definitely that will be for the replay for the people that come in to the live stream on the replay. For those that are coming into the stream, if you haven't already, if you can just politely tap that like button, the share button to maybe one person that you feel will benefit from this stream. And if you haven't subbed up, please do, because this is the kind of content that I will be bringing forth. I always say I'm with the shits, but when it comes to the to educating and to talking about prevalent and applicable subjects that affect our everyday lives, that is where my passion is.
In
I
real
don't.
life though.
Yes, in real life. So, with that being said, no, Carolyn, you have really. I'm so glad you hit the link, and I'm so glad that you have been able to give your experience, been willing to give your experience on personally. It's one thing to talk about it and read it and watch videos of other people going through situations, but having you click on the link and be able to share your personal experience is going to give people that watch this stream a whole fresh perspective, and a hands-on perspective of the topic and of the prisons and the penal systems. I just want to say, if you can stay out of them, stay out of them. I like when KB Kwame Brown says he's a sidewalk. Oh man, I love that concept. We don't have to be brave and bold and so combative when people offend us. You have to be protective over the decisions that you make, and you also have to be responsible for the decisions that you make. So one decision, being a hothead, could determine the entire trajectory of your life and also trickle down for generations to come. I would be super sad if I made a poor decision that I couldn't turn back from, and then I lost out on watching milestones in my children's lives, football, birthdays, award ceremonies, being there, being an advocate for them, being present, giving them the emotional love and stability as a balance that they need. And you have to be present in order to be able to contribute those things. It definitely makes more of an impact doing that than anything else. So that's a really good place to start as well. And while you're on the sidewalk, to definitely educate ourselves on financial literacy, and not to think so short term, but to think generational wise on how we can benefit our children when we're no longer here.
So you made me think of so many things. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was born in Chicago, but we were raised because my grandparents were in the South. So that's where my my accent, my slang came from. So I've been in the South a lot, and I've been fighting. It's like that Oprah said, all my life I had to fight. Oh my God. It's been a fight until now when I got in my 50s. When you say I'm tired of fighting, but it's just always something to, I don't even want to say the word fight, but it's always a challenge out here for us. And I was saying that to say my mom, she was a Black Panther. So she started one of the first feeding programs in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And it was a real big Black church over there. And my mom did the first summer feeding programs there. Fast forward to when I moved here to Georgia, and I was trying to find, a good place to put my children in school. So then I saw where my son was getting like passed. They were just passing him. And then they would like push me into these meetings. And so I had to do a lot of discovering on my own in this fight, because I don't have a bachelor's degree, and I wasn't, quote unquote, as educated as they thought I would have to be to advocate for my child. So it ended up, I was at Inman, and Inman was supposed to be a school of excellence, blah, blah, blah. And the lady told me, well, maybe I'm expecting too much out of my son. And I said, well, no, maybe I'm expecting too much out of you. I said, now I'm from the ghetto in Chicago, and this is where I would grab you across the table and whoop your ass. But I'm going to do one better than that. And I withdrew my son out of the school. I cried all the way home because I didn't know what I was going to do. But he did end up going to a charter school, KIP, and now he is a graduate from West Georgia, and he got awards like 3 years in a row, 15, 16, and 17 for thriving under 30. And he is a financial advisor. He's doing well for himself. Now, had I allowed them to do what they were doing to him, he probably wouldn't have even graduated from high school, because they were pushing him to do, they say, oh, you have to have a foreign language. Wait, he's having issues reading, not because I don't pay attention, but it's because I'm paying attention that I realize that this is going on. So he had a form of ADD where he would read, his mind was moving faster than his hand. And so math, he was a mathematical genius and he would get those right. But the reading part, so when he get to the reading part of the math, that's where he would struggle. So they helped me work with him and he overcame that. And like I said, he ended up going to college, graduating in 3 years. But it's
Congrats, Mom. Congrats.
Yes.
Big salute to you, Mom. Big
Yes.
salute to you.
So I'm an advocate, and I don't even like, I'm not gonna say fight, but I have no problems going up against the system. Look, I was in school at DeVry, and my engineering teacher, he was Indian, and he would say, read the book, read the book. I did read the book. That's why I have questions. And I wrote and started a petition against him. And he had to go on sabbatical for 2 years. I was like, wait a minute, I'm a paying student. Y'all don't realize what rights y'all have. So I have always been that one. Hold up, you're not gonna piss on me and tell me it's raining.
That's
like,
right.
no. So
Right.
when it happens to me, I can go all in, but I don't have a problem going in with people. That's not my issue. Like, really, that's not my issue. But it's just that some things I'm not as knowledgeable about. And if I can get, the people that are knowledgeable in the areas to help, you don't even have to show your face. I don't mind showing my face because they can't do anything to me. I know now God is my protector. He's my all in all. So that part, I'm not scared. I just want to be out there and I want to be right. So you give me the information that I can stand 10 toes down and I know I'm right. I'm out there. I'm doing it. I'm on it.
I love it.
Hey, salute to that.
Yes, me too. And we have a lot in common, Miss Carolyn, because I just went through, I've been advocating for my son. He's had challenges in comprehension growing up, and it's something he overcame as well. And he just got a certificate for having the highest GPA on his football team. And listen, and his math teacher and I are bumping heads right now because of his lack of ability to get these students to understand and provide tutoring and extra help. And I'm pushing up on him now. I've gone over his head to the math department head as well as the assistant principal. And then I told him, I said, my next step will be the school board. Because if he's not going to get a full ride into college on an academic scholarship, it's not going to be because of you. It's going to be because of him. But I don't think a lot of these schools and the staff and the faculty are accustomed, unfortunately and sadly to say, to have advocates for parents that don't mind going to the mat for their kids. And I'm not concerned about my son receiving backlash in class, him taking his frustration that he has out on me because I'm challenging his teaching style or lack thereof on my child. And guess what? If he addresses that, then it just won't improve my child. It'll impact somebody else's child and their academic performance. So I salute you and I congratulate you on that, because that's what I mean by being present in our children's lives. And I yield the floor.
You can't yield the floor. This is your floor.
Well, I could have said pause, but hey, I'm willing to share it, okay?
But
I just wanted to salute her on that, because that's where it starts. We have to do this early on. We can't, it's too late once they get to that threshold of graduating. And, a lot of times, like for me, I went to college, but my parents they kind of forced me to go. They forced me to pick a major. They helped me pick a major because I was still at that age, I was still uncertain of what I wanted to do. I felt like there was a lot of pressure to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life at the age of 17. And
Right.
so we still need the guidance of our parents, our mentors, our elders. And I like I said, I have an adult son, and he still, seeks guidance from me from time to time. And I want to make sure I'm there and available because this world is forever evolving, and the odds, are stacked against us. Like I'm looking at my life's most recent comment, and it's if we don't get them young, then the system will pick them up and mold them and form them into what they want them to be, and it's usually for monetary gain, which does not include having their best interests at heart. So if we don't advocate for them, then who will?
Yeah, I mean, I see the comment from my life, but we gotta start small, bro.
Yeah.
When you want to grow something that's really gonna be big, those roots have to first go way deep before you can see the tree actually popping up on the surface. So, you know, what you're seeing now in our society is those trees that those seeds that the system has planted. You're seeing, the fruits. We're at the stage where we gotta now plant the right seeds in the homes. That's gonna take time. Much like Miss Akimi's channel, the direction that she's going, um, it's not going to be a quick process because these conversations, and a lot of people come on YouTube, and I'm not knocking anybody because I'm the same way too. A lot of us come on YouTube for the entertainment mostly. Most of the educational stuff, most of the real conversations are sometimes lost by many because they're not even present in the room to receive these types of conversations with where the numbers are concerned. You know what I mean? So it's gonna take some time. You reach one, two, three, four, five, six people, and it's on those people to be now present and then add another one or two person coming in to these types of conversations, and then it will gradually grow. And these are for people that really want to do the work in the community, do the work in their homes. That's where it starts first. And with all the knowledge that you're gaining, apply it to your homes, to your kids, and that seed will grow eventually, but the roots have to go way deep first before you can see it pop up on the surface.
I love that. That was so well stated, Bolo. That's very true. It's very, very true. Is there anything else that either one of you feel like you want to add to the conversation? This has been so great and such a good building um, opportunity. I didn't know the direction it was going to go in, but I'm so glad that we are here because it would be amiss if we didn't talk about possible solutions. If we didn't talk about the problem and then offer, as I stated, some type of hope or some type of plan, possible plan, or small tasks, small steps, baby steps. Just like when you watch a baby crawl, first they sit up, then they crawl, then they walk, but they're stumbling, then they end up running, and then the sky is the limit. So you can apply that to the part that we can individually as well as collectively implement and play in real life, no matter what the situation is. And I just want to caveat to that too, that a lot of times I have to fight looking at things from a physical standpoint, and I have to constantly remind myself that there is a higher power that I serve, and that at the end
Mm.
there's very little control that I do have. So once I recognize what I am capable of, then I implement to the best of my ability that muscle of faith. And it's a muscle because it has to constantly be exercised in order to stay strong. And
Talk your ish.
yes, I choose to do that through prayer, through supplication, reading my word, and releasing things that I don't have control over to that power that is higher than myself. And therefore, in that way, I am never hopeless.
Shout out to Double Speaks. Talk your ish.
I'll shout out to Double Speaks. That's it.
I
That's
just
it.
wanna thank Miss Carolyn Stewart, for
Yes.
coming up here and adding great value to this conversation because, with her experience, it validates everything that you actually said in pointing out and raising awareness to this particular situation. And I encourage anybody that's watching right now, if you haven't catch this live from the start, definitely go and watch the replay. Definitely. And share the live.
And Akemi, I did send you on Instagram. I followed you on Instagram, and I sent you a um I messaged you my number. And like I said, I'm willing to go ahead and become a notary and start just going to the schools and these football games and getting parents to just, first get the wheels, then, setting up the trust in it, because our um our lives are not being in order. And so because it's not in order, then it appears as if no one cares. But there is someone that cares, but we just don't know how to tap into that someone or something that cares. So my friend has a channel, and it's called Every 8 Hours, because at the hands of a male that says he either loves her or cares for her in some way, if he could be related or not, but a black woman dies every 8 hours. But now it's been changed to every 5 hours. So that is the real um, pandemic that's going on that they don't want to talk about, because they don't want us to know that that's going on. So more people die, more women, more of us, black women, die because one dies every 5 hours. So this chat has been 2 hours and 39 minutes. So in 2 more hours, you're going to have a person dying at the hand, a black woman dying at the hand of an abuser. Is that not a pandemic?
There is a sense of, I've been saying
Wow.
there's a sense of urgency. Um, I think of us as a people, even though I appreciate your point, and I respect that, because and if it's not through the hands of an abuser, we have childbirth that women are suffering from lack of care on, and women are passing in that regard. I have a niece that was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 29. Um, and I remember there was a time where cancer was considered an old person's disease or illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with everything that's going on, it's afflicting us as a people through the foods, the air, the environment, the water, stress, lifestyle. A lot of those things are in our control, some of them are not. But as you stated, every 5 hours, respecting what your friend has done the research on, and has come to realize that we just don't have a lot of time to sit and be idle. We have to be intentional about, and as parents that have children, and not knocking anybody that does not, because even people that don't have biological children, they're still influencing somebody's child.
Right.
And so it's really imperative that we are intentional and that we utilize our time wisely, because I don't know about anybody else, but these days seem to be flying by. There are times I get up in the morning and I feel like I've only accomplished a couple of tasks before the sun is going back down. And it's a stark reminder of how to utilize my time wisely.
Facts. Can I drop the link for that channel, Mr. Kimi?
Yes, please.
All right, so guys, that's the link. Every 8 hours, that's the
Thank
link
you,
for the channel.
Bolo. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's my Bolo, and I'm gonna stick beside him. I'm gonna stick beside
You funny. Love you too, Mr. Kimi.
I'm serious. You better not go nowhere. Shoot. But yes, so Carolyn, thank you for, because I was gonna ask you how you felt about us collaborating behind the scenes. I feel a connection. So I'm glad that you actually have made that step, and I will definitely be responding to you, and we can get together definitely behind the scenes and just get some thoughts together and implement some plans and impact some people, because I feel that that is my purpose.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm not rushing you, so if there's anything else that you would like to add, feel free. But if not, I just want to say thank you so much for hitting the link, for conversating and adding so much value and perspective to the conversation, to the topic of the stream. You definitely, you know, my spirits are lifted, because when I first started this stream, my heart was heavy, having to go over, but you have to give both sides, and so to be able to conclude and kind of end on the back end of the live stream, to be able to add some type of positivity, some solutions, and not just that, but correlate a plan. That is everything. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. I don't really know how I saw the link talking about the Mississippi prison, but I looked over and I was like, wait, what is this? So I haven't seen the video. I'm gonna go back and look at it. I did get the link that Bolo put in there, and I don't know, but I always feel like in my life God always does something for a reason, and I guess I'll find out the reason later. But it was my pleasure, and I really do hope and pray that we are able to do something together to bring attention to that. Has always been my thing about I don't know, I've always had a soft spot for just Black men, period, because like I said, with my son was the reason that I have two boys, but my oldest son is the reason that I left Parchment. And because like I said, I called him a lie. He was 2 years old. Like, what he know about lying at two? Like, I was like, girl, this is getting to you. You need to leave this job like right now. And I did. I put in my resignation and I left.
And let me tell you something. I've done the same thing. And that takes courage, especially when you're acting on doing the right thing and being selfless, and not knowing what your next move is going to be. um and I don't take that lightly, because I've been there and I know what that requires. And that says a lot about you as a mother. It says a lot about you as a woman. It says a lot about you having integrity and wanting and thinking long term and wanting more for yourself and your family. And so I just, as Bolo says, I want to give you your flowers, because that I don't want to gloss over that. And I worked at a job where I made really, really good money, but over time it cost me my peace. And the longer I stayed, the more bound I felt until, like yourself, I had a moment, an epiphany interacting with my oldest son. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And I had accumulated property, I had vehicle, I had financial responsibilities, and I didn't know what my next move was going to be. But I relied on God, and that was, I think, a turning moment for me with my relationship with God, because I've blossomed since then in my life. When I give it, when I give my will up and I allow Him to incorporate His will into my life, it just, He exceeds any expectations that I have. So I just want to say, I salute you and thank you for sharing that, because I know what that feels like and that resonates loudly with me. And I want to take a moment to Andre W. Thank you so much for the PayPal. I appreciate you. That was very kind, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you kindly. Any last words, anybody? Any
Amen.
statements? Amen. Amen.
Keep doing the great work, Mr. Keamy. Thanks for having me on. And Carolyn, again, appreciate you coming up. You definitely opened my eyes to a lot with this particular topic. So appreciate you both. I'm gonna drop down. Have yourselves a great evening. Salute.
Thank you. You too, Bolo. Thank you for coming up as always. I appreciate you and I love you, baby.
Love you too. Love you right back.
All right. Well, Miss Carolyn, I don't know what led you to tap on this particular stream, but I have a pretty good idea of what the motivating force behind it was, and I'm just glad that you were obedient. And I really appreciate it, and I'm hoping that we can definitely, and I look forward to us definitely having more uplifting and solution-oriented conversations moving forward. So I just want to say thank you. I can't really say it enough. I know it sounds redundant, but it's heartfelt, and so I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And I did share it on my page, and you are very welcome. And it's like, I'm one of those things, my people are my people, and my people are everywhere. So, like, I just look forward to working with you on this. Although I don't have any immediate relatives that I'm aware of that are in the penal system, period. But it's just needs to be, the attention needs to be brought to all of the penal systems everywhere. But I do know that Mississippi, that particular prison in Mississippi, it has always been the largest in land mass and in how many prisoners they have. And, it's always been a thing. It's just like slavery. And so I do pray that attention is brought, enough of it, that they have to do something to force their hand on them doing something. And so I'm looking forward to meeting with you, and no thanks is needed because they are my people indirectly. They are my people. So,
Yes.
but in humans. So
I agree.
mm-hmm.
I agree. Okay, well, thank you for coming up. Thank you for participating. I know you keep saying no thanks needed, so until you drop down, I'm gonna keep saying thank you.
Okay. I'll drop down, and I'm just looking forward to meeting you all. So.
Likewise, thank you so much, and sub up if you haven't already.
You said sum up?
Sub up.
Oh, sub up.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
that way we'll stay connected outside of IG as well.
I will. I will.
All
Okay.
right, Ms. Carolyn, thank you so much. I'll
Uh-huh.
talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I've dropped the link, so I assume that nobody else would like to come up, which is fine because everybody's been engaging in the chat. That has been part of the conversation that way, and I am grateful for that as well. And so I really don't do a whole lot of long outros. We've been on this thing for about 3 hours. I do just want to say that all of the links again are in the description box to all of the sources um, that have been discussed during this live for everybody's reference. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence and not just to take my word for it. If this is a topic that is interesting for you, I think it should be, just because the penal system, whether it directly or indirectly affects us, we all, I think, know someone that if they're not in an institution, they probably have had some experience with being in an institution, and definitely needs to be awareness brought about the injustices, because you got people that commit crimes that go in, that do their time, but nobody really wants to talk about the people that are judging them and that are dictating to them what they can and cannot do within those walls. And they're, if not just as complicit, they're even more so complicit in doing their dirt. And so, not to knock anybody, I'm not saying all people within the penal system, employee wise, is that way, but many are. And the money filters all the way up in this situation. So, when it comes to, this is a 3 hour live, so I'm sure a lot of people have not been able to come in from the beginning. So please go back and watch the replay. There's been a lot of good information that has been generated throughout this stream, and I think it would benefit every last one of us if we just take the time. The entertainment is all good, but sometimes it's good to take a break and to just educate ourselves on what's going on in real life. And so, with that being said, I'm pretty much done with this stream. I want to thank everybody for coming in, whether you watched from the bushes, whether you participated in the chat, whether you were able to come in for a few moments. I'm one of those people that have a busy lifestyle as well. So I truly understand. And a lot of times I listen to streams on the go. So no matter how you were able to do it, I'm grateful all the same. And with that being said, I appreciate everybody. Peace and blessings to everyone. Stay dry, stay safe, and stay at peace. And I am out.